What was the dumbest rule your school had? You had to wear your blazer at all times, unless you had a teacher's permission to take it off. I remember one summer a kid fainted at break time because he was so hot and a teacher had threatened him with detention if he didn't wear it. We were all pretty surprised the rule lasted. We also had this rule at my high school. Girls had to wear blazers if they were wearing pants but didn't have to if they wore a dress. The guys had to wear a coat and tie. However, there was no rule about what type or color of blazer they had to be, so everyone just wore the most horrible looking tie, blazer, and pant combos to pee off the teachers. At one point we had a new head teacher come in. She clearly wanted to try and make a mark, so her big initiative was that all the students would come into their class, stand behind their chairs, and the teacher would wait until everyone was quiet before telling them to sit down. It does not take a genius to figure out that this was a great way to waste 5 minutes of each lesson as the teachers got more and more frustrated with reaching silence. And remember, this is every lesson, so 5 minutes 5 times per day, every day of the week being wasted for no reason. Gradually the teachers just stopped bothering. I don't think there was an official decision, but it phased itself out. Seriously, trying to get young kids to settle down and be silent for even 30 seconds is basically impossible. Even I learned that my first day subbing a first grade class. How someone hired to be a head teacher wouldn't know that is beyond me. Guys couldn't put gel in their hair. The school also had the rule that guys' hair couldn't be long enough to touch their collar, so some kids worked around it by gluing whatever their hair into all sorts of styles that didn't let the hair touch the collar. So they banned gel. They also eventually banned hair ties or covers for guys, but that rule got rescinded quick thanks to a couple of Sikh students we had. Anything requiring hair cutting for anything other than absolutely necessary practical reasons is pretty easy to throw out for religious discrimination. Multiple religions forbid hair cutting. No visible cell phones on school property, even when school is over. I got chased down the hall by a teacher demanding I give him my phone because I called my dad for a ride home 10 minutes after school was over. My school had a huge announcement about acceptable dances, again the school dance. Goosing was one of the dances mentioned. We had no idea what goosing was. Our innocent second year homeroom teacher asked us to look it up. The definition we found had a two-partner dance where one person would, from behind, would reach between a dude's leg and jerk his dong backwards. Our school taught about 1,200 kids about a dance where you grab a dude's dong. This is so stupid that it's absolute gold. My year, and only my year, were banned from running in the playground at age 10/11 because the 5-year-olds would run headlong into us and hurt themselves. I didn't stab him, he just ran into my knife officer. The word boring was banned. You got in trouble for using it. The teachers wanted to make school seem fun by introducing ludicrous rules that make basic conversations a bit trickier. Well, that's tedious, dull, monotonous, repetitive, unvaried, and unimaginative. We had a fantastic system for snow days. We were only allowed to have snowball fights in a very small area. The rules were that the snowballs could not be any larger than your thumb. You could only throw them underarm, and you were not allowed to throw snowballs above the knees. Also no snowmen, because they could fall over and hurt someone. Wow, you're lucky. You got to touch the snow. At my school, snow must remain on the ground at all time. Any snow in someone's hand will result in detention. So when it snowed, we would go outside and stand and look at it during recess. We had a fantastic hill next to our elementary school, but we also had a specific rule that we couldn't go down it. No walking, no running, no log rolling, no somersaulting, no cartwheeling. We could be at the bottom or the top, but not on the slope itself. Going down hills was too dangerous for 5-11-year-olds. We went there to sled on snow days though. It felt like sweet rebellion. They just instituted one that says you are not allowed to carry a water bottle in your hands. If you are found with one in your hands, it will be thrown in the bin. This is to stop kids bottle flipping. At my school, they did it as well, but they just said no dabbing or bottle flipping all out. In high school, my school banned salt. Not salt in the food they sold, of which I'm sure there was plenty, just salt shakers on cafeteria tables. Kids started bringing in their own from home and charging by the shake on the cafeteria black market. Meanwhile, That same year they installed a new slushy machine because apparently adding salt to your meal was a major health concern, but pure sugar in liquid form was totally fine. I imagine some kind of salt speakeasy, people looking around nervously as armed pepper guards walk the halls, ready to attack at will. The government is too strong. The people are in distress as they search for more salt. Coming this summer. When I was in elementary school, there used to always be an ice cream truck parked right outside of the main school gate. Great, right, number. The school had prohibited anyone from buying ice cream because there were kids who couldn't afford any, so it would be unfair. So many of these rules sound completely unenforceable, legally speaking. Private school in Australia, we had to wear our school blazer for the entire winter term, to and from school, so if you were spotted waiting for the bus etc. Bus stops were right outside, you could get a detention. Thing is, look at that first sentence, Australia, it gets freaking hot here, even when it's supposedly winter, and I had a teacher approach me at the bus stop and tell me to put my blazer back on, and I practically cried. I was like 13, because it was so hot. Same rules, in Queensland no less. I swear we had weeks in winter where it didn't drop below 28 degrees Celsius, that is. We also had to wear a formal hat at all times outside of the school, and I was chastised by a teacher once when I was in the supermarket with my mum at 8 o'clock at night. What an absolute joke. Shorts were banned for years in all the schools in the county, even for guys, as the girls were wearing shorts too short. They also banned wearing white tees, saying it was gang related. Red shirts, Bloods, blue shirts, Crips, black shirts, Gangster Disciples, and green shirts, Latin Kings, were all okay though. Our principal said you won't be able to wear shorts when you go to work. Our school didn't have any AC, which made it even worse. P.S. Mr. D. Curso, I wear shorts to work quite often. No exposed armpits. It would make sense if they said this was for health purposes, but they told us it was because we might distract opposite gender classmates with our hot steamy armpits. Maybe someone in the faculty had an obscure armpit fetish. We had a one-way system in the corridors. It became dumb when the class you had next was literally one room back the way, but the teachers stood at the doors like fricking prison guards. Had to walk round the whole school. School was a big square. Just to get to a room you were a fricking plank's length away from in the first place. The school was Douglas Academy in Milgai, which is Scotland. Milgai is pronounced Milgai. This sounds like a piece from Sideways Stories from Wayside School. I went to a school with a uniform. During the winter, we could wear light cardigans with the uniform. However, we're told we couldn't ever wear sweatshirts, because you could hide drugs in the hood and it was a serious safety issue. The school was in the north and had a real heating issue. Students were always complaining about being too cold during class. The staff then realized they could monetize the issue by selling school brand sweatshirts. Suddenly they weren't dangerous anymore. No blankets. They changed the school hours, so instead of coming to school after the elementary school kids, the high school kids came in first. Essentially they moved the start of the school day back by 2 hours. In addition, as a cost-saving measure they turned off the heat overnight, so you have an entire school full of sleep-deprived, freezing cold teenagers. To protest, we all started coming into school with our blankets, basically pointing out that we had just rolled out of bed and come to school. To complete the look, we didn't do our makeup or brush our hair or shower. Well over half the school participated in it. The principal banned blankets, so we switched them for huge parkas. Eventually they banned jackets, at which point the State Board of Ed got involved and told them to sit up and worry more about teaching than what we were wearing. Have you ever attended class wrapped in a warm goose down blanket? It's decadent. We weren't allowed to have fundraisers for a specific cause club. The school believed that if we had, say, a fundraiser for the robotics club, we wouldn't get as much money for the football team. So instead, all fundraising went into a general pot that was supposed to be divided out to the clubs and stuff in a fair manner. Somehow the football, basketball, baseball team always had enough money for buses, uniforms, banquets, etc. But robotics, speech and debate mock trial had barely enough money to enroll in competitions. We still had to pay for our own rides, meals, banquets and everything else. Eventually, a lot of parents just stopped giving. We no longer have hardly any fundraisers, and the rule is still in effect, and the school doesn't understand why people won't give any money. Our mock trial team is so underfunded that the librarian, who is also our coach, steals money from the library fund to pay for buses. There was a rule in our school from a more agricultural time where any student that rides a horse to school has the right to have the school tend to the horse for the day. Since the school had been remodeled, there was no longer a stable, and obviously my school didn't have anything set up to take care of horses anymore, so when a farmer kid rode one and it was a shit show, they quickly removed that rule from the books, lol. The middle school I went to had a policy that literally said this verbatim to students of all ages: please try to conceal erections accordingly. For about half a year my school went through this fad where it was cool to get a random boner in class. If kid got a hard on, he would get up in class and walk around proudly. The boys thought it was hilarious, the girls were so uncomfortable. About 1/4 of the boys would do this. What the frick did they expect will happen? When I was in middle school, there were too many fights in the hallways. The solution: take away locker breaks. So you had to carry around like 8 books, your notebooks, pencil pouches, etc. with you all day. To top it off, you couldn't bring a bag or satchel or a purse. Drag them around in garbage bags, because at school is clearly trash. No leggings. Not no leggings as pants, just no leggings. I got in trouble because I was wearing them instead of tights, under a dress which went at least to my knees. The best part was, they didn't give us any notice about it, they just announced it one morning, and started taking names a few hours later. That one makes me kind of upset. We had a French teacher who had a rule against putting your backpack in the aisles between the desks. If you did, she'd pick it up and throw it across the room, because hitting a window or a kid was better than leaving enough space for her fat butt to walk between the desks. Anyway, one kid got the smart idea of loading his backpack with weights from the weight room. Supposedly she couldn't lift it, then hurt her foot trying to kick it. Kid got in trouble, but I never heard anything about her enforcing that rule after that. Zero tolerance for fights. Even if some frick punches you and you do nothing in retaliation, you still get expelled and have to go to the crappy last resort high school for piece of crap gangbangers whose next stop is jail prison. If you got caught using your phone, the teacher would take it to the principal where you could get it back at the end of the day by paying $15 to get it back. That is called theft, and probably also extortion, both of which, I believe, are illegal. I went to a K-8 charter school. The school was out in the country. When I hit junior high, 6th grade, they had built a school on the edge of the city to keep up with the amount of kids. The town was expanding. Anyways, my 6th grade, the school opened up for the first time. The gym stage could open up inside or outside, so a stage could be used outside. This stage was in the middle of the campus and opened up to a large grass courtyard surrounded by cement pathways to classrooms, libraries, etc. Like 3/4 of a football field. Anyways, the first year, they told us we couldn't walk on the grass because it was baby grass and needed time to grow, thus making any movement going around a long way across the map, and forcing kids to go to the other side of the school to the track and field basketball courts to run. If people were caught walking on the grass, they were made to go back and walk at minimum, and detention for repeat offenders. I mean, if you just cut the corner with one step, they would make you go all the way back. 2 years later, they still have this rule, with same excuse. 2 years later I asked some kids if they still had this rule. They did. It would not surprise me if they have this rule to this day. Needless to say, no one was going to spend 10 minutes of their 15 minutes of recess to walk to a field to run around for 5 minutes. Therefore, no one actually got physical activity at recess. We once had a lockdown incident at a small rural school where this never happens, because a student wrote a threat against the principal on a bathroom stall door. For the rest of the year, you would get detention if you brought a pencil into the restroom. We would take class restroom breaks so the teachers could make sure no one went in with a pencil on them. Because if someone wanted to write a threat somewhere in the school, they couldn't do it literally anywhere else. What a pointless waste of everyone's time. Boys could not wear shorts in 37°C heat, but girls could wear pants or skirts. So we wore skirts and enjoyed a few days off. Boys could not wear shorts in 37°C heat, but girls could wear pants or skirts, just preparing you for a lifetime of employment and corporate dress codes. No backpacks in the classroom. It wasn't even over a fear of guns or anything. I went to a small town Catholic school. It was very inconvenient. Back in elementary school, we were not allowed to touch the snow. Snowball fights weren't very big at my school, but still, not even if we wanted to build something out of snow, which I loved to do as a kid. Nope, we were told to put the snow down. And don't even get me started on pavement-only recesses. I got in trouble for this frequently because I was always carrying the snow. I wasn't throwing it, just transporting it to places with less snow. I loved your just transporting it to places with less snow. Just doing my job. People, nothing to see, hear. Years ago, I attended a Baptist school for a few years. I was in middle school. The dress code was appropriately strict, although we didn't have uniforms. The thing that didn't make sense to even 13-year-old me. Once a year we took a field trip to an amusement park and the usual restrictions on wearing denim pants was lifted for that day. Although we were permitted to wear jeans that day, they could not be blue. We could wear black jeans, or grey jeans, or khaki jeans, or green jeans. Just not blue. Apparently blue jeans were too secular and therefore sinful. Girls, as per Jesus, were not included in this and had to either wear their skirts or culottes because seeing a girl in jeans of any color would send you straight to heck. Of course, this was the same school where we, the students, asked our Spanish language teacher how well she liked the song Feliz Navidad by Jose Feliciano, and she said that the first part was fine, but the chorus was too rock and roll and was therefore inappropriate. Oh, I once got punished for smiling in study hall. The way they wrote it up on the detention slip was that I was engaging in an ungodly form of communication which disrupted the other students. Praise Jebus. Ungodly form of communication. I believe my sides are performing a satanic ritual of sorts. Only brown belt allowed. And the most ridiculous one, no hairstyles allowed for boys. Leave your nappy hair the way it is. Must suck for karate practitioners. My school had a dress code where boys wore jackets and ties and girls had to wear dresses. They finally relaxed it a bit and let girls wear pants and blazers during the winter. All the girls came in with their cute jackets on the first day of winter semester, but the school cracked down because they said that blazer only meant navy blue jackets with brass buttons. Frick that, I wanna wear jackets and ties without anyone telling me to. I was in a Christian school, and they didn't let us read anything with traces of magic or anything that went against God's word. For example, I didn't read Harry Potter until much later on because I wasn't allowed to in elementary and high school. Same thing here, but my parents' rules. No Harry Potter, no Disney princesses, no Star Wars, etc. I turned 16 and decided to be a rebel and went to a friend's house and watched all the Disney movies I could. We weren't allowed to say the word swag because our principal was convinced it was some sort of drug reference or something like that. I thought, this is a real thing. State High in Central PA, more of my high school there than. No jackets, coats or hoodies. Some teachers would have all the windows open in the winter cause they were obese. Smaller female students were barely able to survive. If you miss one homework assignment you'll get written up and get a detention. But if you get into a fist fight you just have no recess for 3 days maximum. I graduated from high school in 1996, back when Ontario had OAK, grade 13, or a 5th year of high school, for the uninitiated. What that meant is that you were legally an adult for most, if not all, of your final year in high school. There was a tradition that, on your 18th birthday, you would march down to the attendance office and sign out for the last period of the day. Teachers knew it, administration knew it, all the students knew it, and it was accepted, if not encouraged. Know why? We could legally do it. Since we were adults, we were allowed to leave school and not get our parents involved. In my final year of high school we got a new vice principal, new to the school and new to the position. He used to be in charge of attendance at his old school and decided that he would make his mark at our school by changing our attendance and uniform. Another story for another time. Rules. No longer could we sign out unencumbered when we were 18. we had to have our parents sign a form giving us permission. So, being the crap disturber I was, which I wasn't, I decided to challenge the rule. I went to sign out on my 18th birthday and was refused. Funny enough, I had a copy of the Education Act in my backpack, because, I mean, who didn't? So I plopped it down on the counter, opened it to the appropriate page, and told the secretary that she legally had to. That got me hauled into the vice principal's office. He then proceeded to tell me that his rules superseded the law and decided to call my parents. My parents told this guy that I was an adult, that they shouldn't be calling them, and basically called him retarded, an acceptable insult at the time. They then turned around and called the principal to tell him about this crap show. Apparently this policy was not communicated upwards. Not only that, but our principal handled the grade 9s and Oaks and they were off limits to the VPs. So needless to say, the policy was quickly reversed. The VP lasted the rest of the year and was promptly demoted. TLDR. Rule was implemented that was illegal, I challenged it, and a VP ended up getting demoted for it. The 6-inch rule. Could not be within 6 inches of a member of the opposite gender. I've heard that teachers broke out rulers, but in my experience they just eyeballed it. I've heard stories at my school they used magazines. If you didn't have 5 magazine widths apart it was too close, yet magazines aren't a constant size. The boys' bathrooms had the stall doors taken away. I never understood why. This led to some interesting solutions to the obvious privacy issue, like toilet paper curtains. But it was absolutely embarrassing when our school hosted home basketball or volleyball games. It's not really a rule, but it was pretty freaking dumb. In elementary school at Reckies they wouldn't let us use the slides. Also in middle school for a solid week they wouldn't let us talk at lunch. Sometimes I wonder why the people in our education system do what they do. My middle school constantly had silent lunches. The assistant principals and some of the teachers would just be yelling silent lunch whenever someone spoke, and if they caught the person talking, they were taken to the cafeteria's detention room. And we had those types of lunches so often for no particular reason. It was mind-bogglingly terrifying and annoying. My private Christian school banned Harry Potter books on campus. My friends and I started an underground HP book club and would sneak them into each other's backpacks. Suffice to say, I'm now a hardcore Potterhead and an apostate. Guys could not have facial hair. So if a guy did have facial hair, he'd be sent down to the main office, where the attendant lady would hand him a razor, spray shaving cream in his hand, and make him shave. I'm surprised that everybody didn't have beards, just to spite her. Go to make sure she can keep the shaving cream supply up to the demand. We weren't allowed to bring newspapers to sporting events. Apparently when the visiting team was announced at a basketball game, the home section all raised newspapers and ignored them. In less than 10 years this rule will feel to high school kids what the Arkansas law that you can beat your wife with a stick no thicker than your thumb feels like to everyone else. At my university they pass out newspapers to the whole student section at basketball games. You are supposed to hold them up as to not be paying attention to the opposing team as they are being announced. After each name of the opposing players are said, you move the paper a little to the side and yell who cares. Students with gauged ears couldn't wear their plugs. The logic behind this was that they were a distraction. I was honestly more distracted by the droopy holes several guys had in their earlobes than I was by their choice of plugs. The real reason is because our principal didn't approve of body mods in general. Dude was a hard butt and a buzzkill. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.